All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Sooner we get through, sooner we can take our Kahoot, and we're going to give away extra get out of jail free cards today because we didn't have a chance to do it on Wednesday. So instead of the top 2 people getting get out of jail free cards, the top 4 people will get it today. So extra little reward for coming to class on Friday. So we left off in class on Wednesday talking about the shifters of demand. So we know demand is this downward sloping curve here, right? It relates to consumers and how at higher prices, if the price goes up, then people are going to buy less of that good. So if the price goes from here to here, people are going to buy less of the particular good. And we talked about the things that actually shift that schedule of consumption. And so the last one that we talked about was market size, the number of consumers. We talked about how if the Shadron population doubled, right, how demand for a simple thing like rent or apartments or houses would increase. So now jumping back into the last 2 of our demand shifters, we're going to talk about the price of a related good. And in a similar way that when we were talking about income, we had to split this up into 2 separate kinds of categories. We're going to split the price of related goods into 2 categories, which are going to be, the first one is going to be something that, we're all used to, a substitute good. So a substitute good or service, right? We just say good, and we mean good or service in this class. A substitute good is a good that you would buy instead of the other good, right? So when we're talking about our demand curve, we have an initial downward sloping demand curve. And we're going to have some sort of market here, right? So for this one, we're going to do hot dogs. So the demand for hot dogs and what happens when the price of a substitute good, let's say, increases. So the price of hamburgers is going to increase. So when the price of a substitute good increases, that's going to cause my demand curve for my good to shift inwards or to the left. So we could think about it as a decrease in demand, but for reasons that we'll see when we start to talk about supply shifts, it's easier for us to talk about inward shifts of demand or leftward shifts of demand rather than a decrease in demand. So this is going to cause our demand curve to shift inwards. So we end up with a D1. This is our D naught. And again, if we use that horizontal interpretation that we were using last time, if we have some sort of fixed price, we can tell that because of this demand shift, hold on a second. I got all ahead of myself here. So this is actually, should be talking about, so if the price of a substitute good were to increase, would we be buying, and so this is part of why we do the horizontal interpretation, right? Let's use this as a learning opportunity since I made a big boo-boo and got my left-right dyslexia here, right? So this is why we do this price check. So we say, okay, if the price of a hamburger was to increase, does that mean that if the price of hot dogs were to stay fixed, right? If I fix the price of hot dogs, this is currently saying that since hamburgers are more expensive, there's going to be less people that are buying hot dogs, right? So this does not make sense. And the reason why it doesn't make sense is because it's wrong. Right? So instead, we're going to talk about how the price of hamburgers increasing, the price of a substitute good increasing, and there's actually a nice little mnemonic that we can use here. Substitutes have the same sign in terms of the shift here, right? So if the price of a substitute good were to increase, it's got the same sign. So that means that the demand of my hot dogs is now also going to increase, or like we said before, we're going to talk about shifts outwards. Well, for this purposes, let's just say shifts up because of this whole same situation, right? So substitutes are going to have the same shift. The price of a substitute has the same shift as the demand curve. So now we take another look at this. We do another gut check. We hold this price fixed. And we take a look and we say, okay, if I'm selling hot dogs and the price of hamburgers were to increase dramatically, what do I think is going to happen? The quantity demanded for my hot dogs is going to increase. So this does make sense. And so this is the correct shift. So substitutes are going to have the same direction of a demand shift as the change in the price.